The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
People of Wycombe, stop what you are doing, and if you are able, stand and applaud, because Gareth Ainsworth has led Wycombe Wanderers to the Championship, the highest level of football that they have played in their history, beating Oxford United 2-1 at Wembley Stadium tonight. Wycombe Wanderers will be playing in the Championship next season.
That was just amazing, you know. We can't afford the best footballing players, but heart and determination, and that was a Wycombe performance. I'm so proud of the boys, you know. They just ground it out. They were just, honestly, I can't believe it.
No matter where we finish on the table, this will be the highest finish in Wycombe Wanderers history. And so it is going to be a tough road to hoe.
It's going to be a real learning curve, and there's no better place to learn than Wycombe. It's a brilliant atmosphere, great people work here, and very proud to be the manager and wake up every day. Very lucky, very happy, and I wanted to give my all, and that will continue into the Championship, definitely.
I'll say it for the people in the back. Wycombe's in the Championship. Wait, I'll say it one more time. Wycombe's in the Championship. Wait! People in the back didn't hear me. Wycombe is in the Championship.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound, the Wycombe Wanderers Show.
A very good evening to you. Welcome along to the second ever edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show on Wycombe Sound. I'm Bob Johnson.
And I'm Colin Besley. Do you think we'll number them each time? Like next year we'll be going, this is the 52nd edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show.
No, I promise you next week I won't say this is the third ever Wycombe Wanderers
Show.
No, you
can,
that was just specially for today.
The second one, it's the difficult second album,
It
isn't
is, it's the difficult second album, but it's going to be a good one.
We've got lots lined up, including
speaking to Gareth Ainsworth, David Wheeler and Neil Harman post the Rotherham United match.
The very first game in the Championship. That sounds quite exciting, just saying that, doesn't it?
It does, yes. And it still sounds exciting saying Championship and Wycombe Wanderers in the same breath.
And if you'd like to imagine what it's like being in the media and getting access to a game under the coronavirus lockdown situation and restrictions, we'll be having a sort of behind-the-scenes tour, if you like, of a Bob's Eye view. Just thought of that, a Bob's Eye view.
Bob's Eye view. We will be hearing from Phil Catchpole as he catches up with Wycombe fan Mark Evans, who worked on the FIFA Series and also once tried to persuade Lionel Messi to sign for Wycombe.
And we'll be catching up with Harry Gadd, who's an off-the-field signing. He's tasked with spreading the worldwide Wycombe Wanderers message literally across the world.
And we will be hearing from Gareth Ainsworth ahead of his visit back to his boyhood home, Blackburn Rovers.
Lots to look forward to in the coming hour on the second edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show here at Wycombe Sound. But first, only one place to start, I think, and that's the very first game in the Championship, which is very exciting, and you were there.
I was indeed, yes. I was lucky enough to be one of the media that was allowed into Adams Park, and we will hear more about that later on. But, Colin, it was a heartbreaking game. It really was, because Wycombe had played so well throughout the 90 minutes. We'd created more chances than Rotherham. I felt we definitely deserved, really, if not to take all 3 points, we definitely deserved a point. And it was just so sickening at the end that Rotherham did a Wycombe Wanderers to Wycombe Wanderers and popped up with a set piece, free header, past Ryan Alsop. And obviously, yes, so we started life in the Championship with a 1-0 defeat.
But you spoke about the chances. It must be so encouraging for Gareth and for the whole team to kick off a season so promisingly.
Yeah, I mean, Daryl Horgan, after a few minutes, had such a glorious chance. Unfortunately, was just leaning back a little bit too much, and obviously, the ball went over the bar. But, heart was in mouth at that point, because you thought, goodness me, and as it is always said, football is a game of such fine margins, and I know that we're really going to discover this more than ever now that we're in the Championship. But, you just watched and you thought, if that had gone in, the whole afternoon, the whole narrative would have been so different. It would have been a wonderful start. But we had some other good opportunities as well. We put the ball on the bar at some point, and fantastically, Scott Cashkett tried to lob Jamal Blackman, which I was very impressed with, considering that Jamal Blackman is, a serious unit of a goalkeeper.
And didn't Joe Jacobson have a shot from inside his own half as well?
Joe Jacobson did, yes indeed. Yes, there was a moment where you then thought, oh, okay, he's stopped trying to score from corners now. He's now trying to score these fantastic, David Beckham-esque against Wimbledon type goals. And it wasn't too far away either.
And what I read in some of the match reviews, which I thought was really nice, was mentioned that there were 8 of the team who were in that player final as well, which is really nice reward for them and for working so hard in the previous campaign.
Yeah, and they didn't look out of place. Again, I appreciate we were playing Rotherham, who were in League One last season, but they definitely looked worthy of their places. We know that Wycombe have obviously signed a lot of players, some of those who were on the bench on Saturday. Daryl Horgan does look like a fantastic addition up front, but it was some of the old guard who were absolutely brilliant. Scott Cashcat had a fantastic game. He never stopped running for the whole, say, 85 minutes that he was on the pitch.
Something which we didn't really touch on our opening edition was the new signings, and it's so exciting, isn't it, when new players come in, and especially from a level like the Scottish Premiership as well. And you mentioned Mr. Horgan, who you say has already made such a good start in the games that he has played.
Yes, he really has, and we look forward now to seeing Uche Ikpeatsu, who will be obviously, who's itching to get on the pitch, and apparently is the second most difficult player to get off the ball in the FIFA game. We're going to hear that interview a bit later on. So we have the 2 players who have the highest rating with regards to that, Akin Fenwa and Uche as well.
And Jason McCarthy and Jack Grimmer, having them back as well, obviously feel like new signings, but having the bonus of having already played for the club as well.
Yeah, and Jack Grimmer, again, played really, really well, I felt, on Saturday. And Jason McCarthy, well, what can you say about him? Absolute fantastic player. Really, really good that he is back in the light and dark blue.
And a really nice story, if you like, to have David Stockdale returning too.
Yes, yeah, really good that he's come back as well. The squad is beginning to shape up, even though we've got easily the smallest budget in the Championship. It's shaping up quite nicely, I think.
I don't know about you, but when I saw the team news on Saturday and the team sheet, I actually felt quite excited, thinking that's a really strong lineup. Yeah,
definitely. So did I. And as I say, so it proved actually that we did have more of the chances than Rotherham. It was a tough old game. It was very much a physical battle throughout. There were probably more chances in the first half. It was almost as if by half time both managers had sort of slightly sussed out what the opposition was trying to do, and actually the second half was a lot more defensive and a lot more cagey, obviously until the second minute of injury time, when it was just heartbreaking, because as I say, just before that, or shortly before that, Scott Cashcat had this great opportunity where he lobbed Jamal Blackman, and Rotherham just managed to clear it away off the line.
I think traditionally as well, in an opening game of the season, you're never really sure how it's going to go. Did it really feel like that both teams are kind of sussing each other out?
So much so, particularly now when you think, well, Rotherham haven't played a game since March. There hasn't been very much of a pre-season. Yes, Wycombe have played a couple of games. I'm sure Rotherham played a couple of games as well, but it really hasn't been the normal build-up that you would get going into a season. So really, the teams were coming at each other very fresh and not being quite sure what to expect. And as I say, I expected the first half to be a much more cagey, a bit of a sort of passing it around, nobody actually wanting to make any mistakes, but it really wasn't that at all. It was a really engrossing game of football for the first 45 minutes, whereas in the second half, they definitely had slightly more got the measure of each other.
And was there a real sense that, as you say, you got to 90 minutes and you thought, well, we'll take a point. And then, but like you say, this happened so many times for Wycombe as well in added on time, which feels like it could go on indefinitely, but you can get 96, 98 minutes even sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, so much. You were then sort of like looking at the clock and thinking, oh well, a point's not bad, but maybe we've still got time to go down the other end and snatch it. And when they then got the free kick, you were then thinking, well, hopefully, we'd been really good at defending set pieces up until that point. This is going to be okay. And the player just got away, managed to pop up and put it past Ryan Alsop.
So it must be so much to take positive from that opening game that we've touched on and highlighted the amount of chances created.
Yeah, certainly. That was, one of the big plus points. When I spoke to Gareth after the game, the first thing I said was, it was a really good performance, and I was interested to see how he responded to that. But he very much, his eyes lit up as I said it, and was very much like, yes, it was. And again, the fact that Wycombe had more of the chances, I think is really heartening. Actually, yes, we didn't pick up the 3 points, but I think we are going to challenge, we are going to surprise people in this division.
And great that you got to speak to David Wheeler after the game as well, to get a real player's eye view of proceedings as well.
Yeah, that was interesting as well. I did say to him, did Gareth say anything different before you went out? Really expecting him to say no. But actually, no, he did say yes. The Gaffer did have a few words about life in the Championship.
So we'll hear from David Wheeler in a few moments' time. But first, Bob's thoughts post-match with Wycombe boss Gareth Ainsworth.
Fantastic battling display, heartbreaking end.
No, it was a heartbreaking end, but only a heartbreaking end if you let it become that. If you look at the other 91 minutes, then I think you say, you know what, we've been well in this game. A point would have been great to start with, but it's not happened. They're a very similar side to ourselves. Set plays were plenty today, and we've just conceded right at the end on one, and that was difficult to take. But we've got to make sure we put that right. We've got to look at Blackburn next week and see how we go against them. It'll be interesting to see how the league pans out this season. I'm pretty sure we won't be bottom of the league. We'll be in the highest position ever for this club, and that's a real positive for me. I'm looking forward to looking at the Championship table, knowing Wycombe are in it, but then not resting on that, going right, I want to stay in this league. I want to go higher in this league, and let's see what we can do next week.
We keep talking about that at Wycombe Sound, and the people of Wycombe. We put out a poll in the Wycombe Wanderers Show in the week. Nobody thought that you would be relegated, and I think that just goes to show that actually locally we know what we are. We know what we're about in this club. It's the national press, the national media that keeps saying that we're going to go down, but actually the people of Wycombe completely know how you set up, and when we are the underdogs, that's when we really thrive.
Yeah, listen, we're going to work really hard. Myself and my staff will work really hard. Now we can disrupt teams, and now we can counter teams. That's what we've got to do. If we go toe to toe with teams and start going right, let's try and play the best game in the world and play expansive football. We may get done a few times. I'm not saying we're not going to do that. There's going to be opportunities to do that, but at the moment we are a team that we need to really stop the opposition playing, counter the opposition, and have those moments of magic that we have. Rotherham have had one today. Fantastic for them at the end of the game, and I just wish the fans were in here, because I know how much they mean to me. I know how much they mean to the boys, and they got us some results last year. They got us the Southend result. They got us the MK Dons result at home last season. It was brilliant. The way they get behind us and kick into that Valley End is just awesome sometimes. We miss you, but I'm sure you'll be back soon. And if I can hold the fort until they get back, then that'd be great. Love being the manager of this club. Really, really happy, and hopefully we can get a win sooner rather than later.
We did have a couple of good chances today, so in particular Scott Cashcat trying to lob Jamal Blackman, which isn't something that you would necessarily think with a goalkeeper like that. No. It was such a shame that the chances that we had, probably we had better chances than Rotherham.
No, we've hit the crossbar. We've had a great header cleared off the line. We had Scott Cashcat's chance off the line. Darryl had a chance really early on, and I thought we had the majority of the chances, but sometimes it goes that way, but I'll tell you what, it goes the other way too, and I'm waiting for that day.
I thought Scott as well was a little bit unlucky. He didn't get many good decisions from the referee today, because I thought he was fantastic.
Although he was brilliant, Scott. The real threat in their side, and I'm convinced that there's a foul when he's clean through in the first half. But listen, I wouldn't like to referee games. I'm about to have a go at that. Let's see what happens next week. But thanks for all your support, everyone, and we go again.
I also spoke to David Wheeler and asked him how he'd found the first game in the Championship for Wycombe Wanderers.
It was very direct, very sort of set piece orientated game, but I think we had the chances, so it's encouraging that we created the chances that we did, obviously, but that's the fine margins, especially this season in this league. It's been super clinical, really.
You do need to take your chances in any league, but particularly in the Championship when you're a club like Wycombe.
I don't think they had another shot on goal. So, if we only concede one shot on goal every game, I think we'll be fine. So it's just tweaking a few things, being a little bit more thorough with certain things, and I think we'll be a lot tighter in defence as a team as a whole.
Did Gareth say anything different before you went out, as it was your first game in the Championship?
He mentioned it. He said obviously you done the boys, you done the club proud the season before, but this is a new season and it's a new challenge. So there's no point in dwelling on it or sort of saying, we did a brilliant thing last season. We did, obviously, but we can't sort of rest on our laurels. It's a huge challenge, and we've got to face up to it this season.
And with all due respect to Rotherham, next week you're away at former Premier League champions Blackburn Rovers, which must be exciting.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much all the teams are former Premier League teams, aren't they? That's the thing. That's the beauty of it. It's definitely sort of poses us a different type of challenge. But again, like, you know, we need to come up with the answers. And I think we do have the answers. It's just about executing it on the day.
After the game, I also caught up with Neil Harman, who, of course, wrote the book of last season, Close Quarters, and found out how things had been going since the book had been launched.
Touch wood, it's gone pretty well. I can only say that for 10 days we were top of the Amazon Sporting Stories books, so that was very reassuring. I've had nothing but compliments. So far, I mean, there's always people who find little things they don't like. In fact, I was just saying that I did a chapter on Jason McCarthy and Alex Samuel and Benedict the chaplain and how faith plays a part. And someone wrote on a forum, I've marked you down because I don't want to read about religion in football. So I just find that quite absurd, really. If it's part of the success of the squad and part of the strength of the character of the players who play, then I think it's a fundamental part of a story.
Definitely, and within Wycombe, that comes across quite strongly, actually, from some of the players, doesn't it?
It's a fundamental part of the strength of their characters. Their faith is so powerful and so important to them, and I think that's if that's something that is going to help them grow as people and help the club grow as a club, then that's very, very important. So I was a bit taken aback by that, but on the whole, I've been gratified. The story was there. I mean, it was a great story. So it would have taken, I think, probably a poor writer not to have done it justice. And I hope I've done it justice. As I say, from the club, from most fans, from those who've read it, there's been nothing but pleasing responses. You don't like to, get too carried away, but I hope people like it. It's a great story of our times, in a way, the strange times we live in. So far so good would be my report.
And on behalf of Wycombe Sound, we're very, very grateful that you put us in there as well.
Well, you had a fantastic season as well, didn't you? I mean, you were up there among the best stations in the country. So why not celebrate that as well? And you do a fantastic job for the community, and that's vital as well. I think you link. You're a great link between the people and the club. The club respect what you do and thank you for what you do. So it was great. I mean, all round, Wycombe had an unbelievable year, didn't they? And you were part of that as well.
Today, fantastic that you're here, but heartbreaking at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I think it was a harsh lesson in the realities of football one level up. You take your eye off the ball for 10 seconds and they score. I mean, it's a very un-Wycombe-like goal to concede, and I know Gareth and Dobbo will be going through that forensically next week. But a free header from 8 yards out in the last minute, you got to question: did people just lose focus for a second? Did the guy appear and no one had picked him? Well, obviously no one picked him up because he had a free header. But it was a very poor goal to concede. But a salutary lesson on day one of the championship that points are going to be very difficult to get. If you get half a dozen chances in a championship match, you've got to take one. And Wycombe had probably 3 or 4, didn't take. They had one in the first minute, didn't take one, and the result is a heartbreaking loss in the last minute. But there's a long way to go.
Really fantastic to hear from Neil Harman. I'm really looking forward to getting his book. Actually, I'm going to put it on my Christmas list.
I have got the book.
Have you?
It's on my Amazon Kindle, and yes, I am looking forward to reading it. I had hoped that maybe actually it was available as an audiobook, because I was then thinking, because again, I'm lucky enough that I am going up to Blackburn even on Saturday.
Maybe Blackpool as well.
Not Blackpool. Well, you never know. Might
on
be
your tour of the north.
Yes, I mean, if COVID hadn't
who knows
happened,
where you'll end up.
Exactly. You never know. But yeah, I was looking forward to driving up there, and I was thinking, oh, I know, I'll listen to the audiobook. But unfortunately, it's not on audiobook.
Yeah.
But actually, if Neil wants to come in here to Wycombe Sound and record it, then we will definitely do that.
I'm sure it'll be a great read / listen.
It is meant to be fantastic. It's got fantastic reviews. So yes, definitely, I'm looking forward to reading that.
Another sort of highlight, if you like, was on Monday's mid-morning we caught up with Matt Cecil, who we heard from on the show last week, to talk about his reflections on the opening day of the season and the fantastic coverage that the game and promotion got nationally as well.
It was a proud moment for everyone at the club to see the team walk out, put up a really strong battle against a championship opposition. Yes, they were in League One with us last year, but they're up there on their merit. The team put in a really good performance. It was as slick as an operation as it could be off the pitch. Obviously, a very limited number of people were here, but I think the match day went smoothly from our perspective. and now we're looking forward to our first away game under these new restrictions, going up to Blackburn for the first time ever next Saturday.
Was it something that was in the back of your mind on the day as well, that, you know, this is all great and everything, but there should have been a cracking atmosphere at Adams Park on that day?
Yeah, you know, we would have forecast a sellout. People will say it was only Rotherham, and by that I think they mean, you know, Rotherham are one of the smaller clubs in the Championship compared to the likes of Derby and Forest, but I think the occasion alone and the nice weather we had would have attracted a near sellout crowd. So, you know, from a club's point of view, that would have generated a lot of revenue for us and for all of our partners, and also it would have just been a really great moment for the town, I think, and the town centre would have been buzzing for the days and, you know, in the lead up to it, the day of the game and the evening of, certainly, and for that not to take place was a real shame. So yeah, you know, it was a great occasion, and once you take the scoreline away from it, you know, still a really proud moment to see Wycombe Wanderers contesting a Championship fixture.
And great that fans were still able to get a souvenir of the day with Park Life as well, the programme's still continuing. Yes,
yeah, you know, long live printed media. You know, there's a lot to be said for, you know, the changing world of newspapers and printed publications, but sometimes you've got to have that something physical, that something tangible in your hands that is a memento of the game. It is a souvenir. It sold really well. We had a new programme editor come on board, a lad called Henry, who's kind of taken it to a new level, a lot of different features, and that will remain going forward for the new season as well. So they were able to pre-order and then have delivered. I think most arrived on the Saturday morning, so people were able to read them at home before tuning in to watch it online.
And you've had a new studio show as well, which with Dan, who we've had on before as well, which is great for the new season.
Yeah, it's you know what, for years and years, Wycombe Wanderers have kind of preached to the community that football isn't a TV show. You know, don't stay at home and watch the Premier League action. Come down to Adams Park and enjoy a real live match day experience. And these COVID restrictions have flipped that on its head entirely. Football is now, unfortunately, in the short term, a TV show, and that's the only way you can access it. So what can clubs do to really maximise that? Yes, there's the live streaming, which is available to all supporters. Season ticket holders get to watch the game for free, or the home games at least anyway, and any other supporters can pay £10 to watch the game. But, you know, most fans don't just rock up at 3 o'clock on a Saturday and watch the game. They like an experience beforehand, and that's what we've tried our best to replicate with the Chairboys live show, which will be a regular feature, certainly on home games. We're looking to build it into away games where we can as well, and just to bring some light-hearted humour, some historical content of games gone by, live studio interviews. We're cautious, as you will well know, the perils of live broadcasting and some of the technical challenges we may face, or you know, things going wrong or people saying the wrong things live on air, but that's all part of the fun of it. So that was really well received, a good number of views on that, and leveraging some sponsors as well that, you know, ordinarily would have had you know, many more eyeballs on their brands inside the stadium. It's now kind of been transferred to this new digital platform on YouTube. So yeah, that was really nice to get that underway. Dan did a great job along with Mark and Tom, kind of behind the scenes, who pulled it all together, pushed the right buttons at the right times, and made it all happen.
And obviously, a few weeks ago, we were very lucky to have Pete Coig in the studio, and he was saying about, you know, what's been needed to get the club Championship ready. And it's fantastic that you've been able to sort of expand the team off the pitch as well. Yeah, you know, lockdown came around quite sharply, and, you know, the administrative staff were whittled right back to about 5 staff that were kept on while most others were furloughed, just because of the, you know, instant freeze on any revenue coming into the club. And a lot was achieved during that time, but obviously it kind of gave the club an opportunity to see where it was short of, what it could do with 5 people, and what it needed to develop. So the club has been recruiting. We're still in the process for a couple of positions. Recently brought on board Harry Gadd as a global marketing executive to really focus on the worldwide Wycombe Wanderers phenomenon, which was a term that was first coined by Rob Coig last summer, and we're really seeing the fruits of it now, particularly with Championship status. The number of supporters from overseas who want to engage with the club, want to buy shirts, want to watch games, want to keep as close to the action as possible. It's not just now the High Wycombe community that we're trying to talk to. It's that worldwide audience as well. So yeah, expansion, you know, albeit in a relatively small scale, but off the pitch, and at the training ground side as well, more staff that Gareth's been able to bring on board on the analysis side.
launching what's being termed a B team, but it's basically an expansion of the squad. We've seen younger players coming on board as well, who will be given specialist coaching, on top of the first team training they're getting, in the hope that they can break into the first team and go on to have successful careers with us. So there's been a number of changes since we were last in league action way back in February time, and the club is certainly looking more prosperous than probably it ever has before at the moment.
Must be so pleasing as well for yourselves to have such a great sort of focus on the club's promotion, and also obviously first game back in the Championship in the national media as well.
Yeah, we've got some really strong relationships, and having people like Gareth and Bayo Akinfenwa, Matt Bloomfield, Joe Jacobson, all of whom were speaking to the media last week, great ambassadors and role models for the club, very media friendly, and this has been a club that has always willingly opened its doors to the outside world and said, look, we're proud of what we've got, so come and tell our story for us, kind of thing. There's some great stuff with Gareth and his band last Monday, which was a unique perspective into the manager that we see and hear a lot about his musical interests and his kind of rock and roll lifestyle away from football, and that was really nice to kind of showcase that in more detail. It was lovely to see last week kind of the unravelling of a lot of work that goes into these interviews to make them happen, and seeing them all being published across various different platforms. But of course as well, yes, there's the national and the international media, but we're very grateful to Wycombe Sound as well for the continued coverage. Bob was down at the press session on Thursday morning collating a couple of interviews. The first show on Thursday night was fantastic, and it's great to see that now becoming a regular feature. So more and more people talking about Wycombe Wanderers can only be a good thing. It keeps the interest levels high in a whole different variety of ways, on and off the pitch, and long may that continue.
Really interesting to hear Matt Cecil's thoughts, and we will be hearing from him in future shows. He has now popped up on both Wycombe Wanderers shows. We may even give him his own regular slot.
We'll have to think of a name, won't we?
Yes.
Cecil's Corner or something.
Cecil's Corner?
Maybe.
Cecil's Yellow Cards?
Needs more work.
We'll have a think.
Yeah. Still to come, we'll be hearing from Harry Gadd, who is Wycombe Wanderers' latest off-the-field signing.
We will also be catching up with Phil Catchpole, who will be speaking to someone who has worked on the FIFA games and once tried to persuade Lionel Messi to sign for Wycombe Wanderers.
Before the end of the show as well, we'll be previewing the trip to Blackburn, or Blackpool, as Bob was talked about going to. But also we'll be getting...
Can you imagine I'll turn up at the wrong ground? That would be embarrassing.
Bob's travel log as well, we've got coming up next. Behind the scenes, find out about what it was like to enter Adams Park, one of the few people to enter Adams Park as well, on the opening day of the Championship season, with Wycombe Wanderers taking on Rotherham United last Saturday. We'll be reviewing that, I should say, here at Wycombe Sound.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
You're listening to the Wycombe Wanderers Show with Bob Johnson and Colin Besley on Wycombe Sound. Still to come, we will be chatting to Harry Gadd to find out how the worldwide Wycombe Wanderers phenomenon is growing.
That's going to become harder and harder to say as well, isn't it?
Yes, I'm quite
But you did it very well.
I'm quite impressed that I got through that, actually.
There's a lot of W's to get through.
It was, yes.
But first, exclusive, if you like, behind the scenes. You can't build these things up enough, can you?
No, you can't.
Sort of Bob's eye view of entering Adams Park and what goes into getting the media accreditation in these COVID-19 times. Bob's approach to Adams Park and his kind of literally behind the scenes access, if you like, to the game on Saturday when Wycombe Wanderers had their first Championship encounter with Rotherham United.
So it's Friday night and I am at the Wycombe Sound studios, looking forward to tomorrow's game against Rotherham United, the Wycombe's first ever game in the Championship. And as a member of the media, I am lucky enough that I do have an invite. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I will definitely be able to get into Adams Park tomorrow. Before COVID, very much once you had an invite, once you had the right accreditation, you were definitely guaranteed a spot in the press box. But in these COVID days, that is certainly no longer the case, and that applies if you work for the BBC, if you work for Sky, if you're with the Bucks Free Press, pretty much anyone, including me as a presenter at Wycombe Sound. So one of the things that you are asked first of all is to fill in a questionnaire. So you have to put in your name, all of your details, and then you're asked a very specific COVID question. So have you had a fever in the last 7 days? New persistent cough, aching limbs, sore throat, any breathing problems, reduction in the sense of taste, sense of smell? Luckily I'm going to be able to say no to all of these. days? Have I had any close contact with a COVID patient in the last 14 days? No, not that I know of. Have I had a COVID test within the last week? If yes, what was the date of the test and what was the result? No, none of those apply. I understand that whilst I am at the stadium, I will be required to wear a face covering. Yes, that's fine. I must stay in the area allocated to me in the stadium, wear accreditation and wristbands at all time. And I understand that any breaching of government or local requirements for COVID-19 may lead to me being asked to leave the stadium. Right, yeah, okay, understand all of that. Then you click on submit, and that question then wings its way back to Adams Park. And hopefully, because I've ticked all of the right answers, when I turn up at the Adams Park gates tomorrow, I will be allowed in. So it's about 40 minutes until kick-off. I am just driving down Hillbottom Road now, and I can't help thinking that normally this place will be absolutely rammed with 40 minutes to go until kick-off. Even if Wycombe Wanderers were playing Forest Green Rovers, say, in a League 2 game, this would be very busy now. But this morning, there's not anyone around that I can see at all. There's the few usual lorries that are scattered around down Hillbottom Road. But other than me and a car that I'm following in front, and a couple of people who are obviously officials from Adams Park who are just standing outside the gates, there is pretty much nobody here this morning. Right, just putting on the mask, which is Wycombe Wanderers blue, I'm glad to say. Morning, Bob Johnson from Wycombe Sound.
Yeah, if you just follow this car here, sir.
Yeah, no worries.
Tell you where to park.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're being directed round. Got some more officials now in very fetching orange jackets who've got event steward on the back, who are just now checking in the person in front of me. There's quite a few cars in the car park, but not nearly as many cars as there would normally be if it wasn't a COVID restriction match. They have actually guaranteed that we will all have a parking place, which I don't think I've ever known before when I've been coming to a game at Adams Park. Guy who's doing the telling you where to park has got a very fetching mask. Morning, mate. Bob Johnson from Wycombe Sound. Okay, he's just bringing the thermometer now.
Can I take?
Of course you can. Yep.
Low.
Is that good or bad?
Yeah. Anywhere up on the back row.
Yep.
Going through gate 1.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's one of those things with your temperature. When they then say, "Oh, it's low," you think, "Well, I don't know. It's you know, I know it's better than it being high, but does that still mean that you're slightly unhealthy?" Right. Okay. So I've been directed to the back row, and then been told to go over and park in gate 1. I'm just looking at the accreditation that they've given me, and I see that they've written down Bob Johnson and then organisation Rotherham FC, which I'm not very happy about. I don't sound very Yorkshire, do I?
Up to the gates, turn right, you'll be seated.
Fantastic, lovely, cheers. So normally you would go in the main entrance next to the club shop, but no, we're going in the entrance between what I call the main stand and the town end. Looking across at the Frank Adams stand, just walking round. Oh, it's very busy here this morning. And I've made it. I am in the press box. I have managed to get in successfully. I've passed all of the COVID tests. Hopefully it will be a good game.
So behind the scenes with Bob, which could be a new feature, especially if you go to Blackpool by mistake.
Yes, no, I'm definitely not going to go to Blackpool.
Don't have that in your head because you'll be
No, I know. No. Well, it's okay because, you know, we're in these days of sat-navs, you're unlikely to go to the wrong ground. I'm always slightly worried that you might have got the home and away wrong, and, you know, you might turn up at Blackburn and then realise that actually they switched it to Adams Park, particularly in these strange COVID days where that sort of thing might happen. But no, that has never happened. The one thing that really did strike me, though, going along, and the reason that I sort of recorded that whole little bit was that actually nobody knows these days whether or not they're going to get into the ground. And it doesn't matter who you are, whether you remember the media, whether you remember the ground staff, or whether you're Gareth Ainsworth or one of the players. If you fail one of those tests as you go in, and we all have to go through the same thing, you don't get in.
What was your overall kind of experience that you'll take, or thoughts of the experience that you'll take away? Did it feel really well done, really safe, and you
Completely.
definitely that the whole kind of media match day experience was still very positive?
Yeah, really, really good. Everyone was very friendly, as you heard. I felt very well looked after. It did feel very safe. Lots of hand sanitizer, lots of just lots of instructions, but it was all very clearly said beforehand about the parts of the ground that you could go to and the parts of the ground that you couldn't. It was really, really well done.
You might have heard us mention to Matt a little earlier on as well. Was there a thought in the back of your mind at any point where you thought it's such a shame because this could be a cracking atmosphere on the opening day?
The whole time. I mean, as I said, just driving down Hillbottom Road, which is not always the most, sort of like evocative, emotional place. But as I was driving down there, before the game, an hour before the game, and you just think, goodness me, in a different time, this road would be absolutely heaving, or you could see the people walking down the road, if you know what I mean, even though they weren't there, and in the ground as well. Just just the fact that the atmosphere was so different, it was still good. I'm still going to say it was positive. There was quite a lot of noise from the Wycombe Wanderers staff, but you couldn't help thinking, particularly towards the end of the game, that actually what we really, really needed was the support on the terrace to really urge on Wycombe. And obviously that wasn't there, and we all know what happened next.
And really nice as well, you might have seen on social media that Rotherham's officials mentioned how well they were treated in terms of the space they were given, in terms of the welcome that they got. Because you imagine, don't you, especially in these times, that away clubs wouldn't be given such space. They'd be stuck out in the car park or something, wouldn't be given much room to warm up. They wouldn't have hot water perhaps, or the olden days of turning off the hot water to sort of spoil the preparations of the visiting team. But so well looked after.
I thought that was absolutely lovely, and I'm not going to say unexpected, but you don't think of Adams Park as being the biggest ground. So actually, as you say, if we had ended up putting the away team in some, sort of like room in the corner, that wouldn't have been too surprising. But, the fact that Rotherham actually went out of their way, their manager, to say how well they've been treated, how well they've been looked after, I thought, that was really nice. And clearly it's not going to be the case that actually when teams come to Wycombe Wanderers this season, it's going to be a bit eye-opening for those teams that used to be in the Premier League, because they are going to be well looked after.
Really nice to hear about the new signings we mentioned a little earlier on, and you might have heard us talk to Matt briefly as well about the off-field expansion that's going on at the club as well in terms of personnel, and we've been speaking to one of their new signings, Harry Gadd, who has a very good title. He's sort of responsible for spreading the Wycombe Wanderers word around the world. Are there any other W's we can add in?
No.
So my job title is Global Marketing Executive. So I'll be working closely with Rob and Pete, the owners, basically tasked with growing Wycombe on a sort of worldwide level. So we've come up with this sort of concept that we're calling the worldwide Wycombe Wanderers phenomenon. And my role will be kind of to take Wycombe to a global audience.
So where do you sort of start, if you like?
So I think it's kind of sort of two-pronged, really. So you've obviously got kind of like fan engagement, and then kind of once that's been started, we can move on to sort of like commercial opportunities. So I think, first of all, kind of better engaging with our current fans, and from there also like looking at how we can bring new fans in.
With regards to like the worldwide Wycombe Wanderers phenomenon, which has very much started with the Couhig family, how far has it got so far?
I mean, it's been really surprising to see, for me, sort of joining the club recently, how many fans we already have, worldwide. I mean, you only need to sort of look through the comments on our social media channels, and you're seeing, fans from sort of all corners of the world, really. So I think the first step is kind of to better engage with them, make sure that they feel invested by the club and that, the club cares about them. And then from there, kind of just growing it as much as we can. So making sure that fans around the world have opportunities to get the shirt, sort of show their love for the club. And we're looking to kind of, one of the first things that we've been doing is looking to create a kind of like international membership opportunity. So fans will be able to kind of get access to exclusive content. My background's been in Spanish at uni, so trying to provide sort of content for them in Spanish and their other languages where possible, and just making them feel that they're really sort of a part of the club and making them feel as invested as possible.
It must be really exciting as well to get the Wycombe story, if you like, out to other countries as well, and for them to learn about where Wycombe have come from and obviously where they are now.
Of course, yeah. I think there are so many reasons to support Wycombe. You've obviously got the sort of idea of like rock and roll football, and obviously Gareth's sort of longevity and background and love of music. Kids around the world will have no doubt played with Akinfenwa on FIFA, and then kind of like you say, like the success story of being a fan-owned club and going from kind of like the brink of relegation out of the Football League to now playing in the Championship. So I think these are all kind of really cool and amazing aspects of the club that have always been there, but now that we have that elevated platform of playing in the Championship, it's definitely going to be something that we're able to share more worldwide. I think there are going to be people around the world that are going to fall in love with some of the things about this club. I think kind of like coming from my background of like living in South America, a lot of the sort of values about watching sport, togetherness and unity and stuff like that are values that really resonate with the club. So it's my job to kind of make sure that people know about us and get as many people supporting us as possible.
And to quite literally put Wycombe on the map as well, because I know when you go on holiday, you say you explain to other people, even from England, where Wycombe is, and you say, it's not near London, and they say, oh yeah, I know someone from London. Do you know Pete? And they
yeah, I know, you get that a lot, don't you? Yeah.
But it must be quite a challenge to be able to introduce, as you say, sort of Wycombe and the Wycombe story to other countries and nationalities and languages as well.
Yeah, no, it definitely will be a challenge. I think there's already there's already like a decent base level to work with. I think there's a lot of kind of news outlets around the world have picked up on the sort of the success story and our promotion from where we were a few years ago to where we are now. So our challenge is to really build on that and like you say, put Wycombe on the map and make sure it becomes a sort of household name in English football.
When you look at it, that phone call that Gareth Ainsworth made to Bayo those years ago, it's just such a fantastic one in so many ways, not only from the football side because of what he brings obviously on the pitch, but also everything off the pitch, as you've already rightly said, the fact that so many kids know about him through FIFA and also through all of the stuff that he does on YouTube.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, that would probably have been my first sort of experience of coming across his name is from FIFA. He's obviously such a huge character off the pitch as well as on the pitch. He's obviously been incredibly successful here at Wycombe. So yeah, that's definitely one of the things that I think does attract people to supporting Wycombe. But obviously, there's the whole playing squad and the manager and everything else about this club that we really want to make people fall in love with. So yeah, it's just I think so many different reasons to support the club, and our challenge will be to work out which of these we can really get people on board with and make them support us and follow us, whether that be Akinfenwa, like you say, from kids playing with them on FIFA to some of the other things we mentioned.
And Gareth Ainsworth so often says, we're Wycombe Wanderers, we do things differently. Well, we really do. Again, as you're saying about rock and roll football, the fact that we've got a manager who, when you look at him, you think, well, yeah, he looks like he's just come off stage. That really does set us out from some of the managers who either wear tracksuits or just normal suits. Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously you've got his longevity of being here for so long, which I think is, really stands out in the particularly cutthroat industry nowadays. And like you say, his appearance is quite relatable and, yeah, we're just like a normal club. I mean, when you hear him being interviewed and the players being interviewed, I think it's very relatable, all down-to-earth guys, and yeah, I think that's definitely something that people can get on board with.
It must be quite strange as well for people locally to imagine that there would be an interest in Wycombe in other countries as well, but I imagine as well, having that step up into the Championship, it will definitely broaden the appeal. Definitely, yeah. No, I mean, like we were saying, all these kind of like cool aspects about the club have been there and thereabouts. People that have followed Wycombe will already be aware of what we're about and the success that we've had in recent years. But I think like around the world, perhaps League One and League Two are kind of less international as opposed to the Championship and the Premier League. So I think the Championship's the fifth most watched league in the world. I mean, you've got some huge teams in there and huge teams that have played in there before moving up. So yeah, no, it's definitely going to bring a lot more spectators around the world and hopefully, we can catch people's eyes, not just off the pitch, like we were saying, in terms of engaging with fans and stuff like that, but also on the pitch. Hopefully we can be a good bet on the pitch this year. You mentioned your background in Spanish. Are we looking to attract foreign language supporters to the club? And if so, will it just be in Spanish? Is it planned in other languages as well? So I think Spanish is probably what we've looked at first. Obviously, like you said, with my background and Matt, our head of media and marketing, also has a good, decent understanding of Spanish. So I think that's kind of what we started with first. I mean, the weekend just gone against Rotherham, we put out our first highlights package with Spanish commentary. I mean, obviously that kind of covers all of South America except Brazil and Spain, where we've seen a lot of followers kind of engaging with our content on social media. So we think that Spanish is definitely a good place to start. But obviously, if it works well and we're able to attract lots of viewers from Spain and other Spanish-speaking countries, then it will be something that we could look at reproducing for other nationalities too. Do you have something in terms of perhaps global takeover targets? I imagine you have some sort of Dad's Army kind of map on your wall that you're trying to move into different countries. Is that something you're sort of looking to? If we
not quite as war strategic as that, but yeah, no, I think
sort of 2/3 of the world covered by next season would be great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, give us a year and then we'll have it all sorted. No, I think it's kind of it's kind of more. The last couple of weeks have been just to let's get the ball rolling and see where this interest emerges. Obviously, with the Q Leagues being from the States, we've seen a bit of interest there. So that will obviously be kind of like an avenue that we explore. And also, I think with obviously my background in Spanish and with so many countries covered by sort of Spanish-speaking content, that's also another good place to start. But we've seen fans from all over. As part of the international membership package that we're looking to offer, we're kind of trying to get some supporters groups present in each of these countries, so that people can have kind of much more personal experience and support the club with other people from their country. So we've seen interest already in supporters groups from Turkey, from Spain, from France, from Norway, South America. So it really is a really vast area covered already. So hopefully we'll keep that growing and see, like you say, ticking off as many places as we can.
I would imagine that as we've now got iFollow and you can pretty much watch the game, particularly if you're abroad, pretty much anytime, anywhere, that must make things so much easier than actually, say, doing this if you couldn't really access coverage abroad, if you could only watch, say, the Sky games.
Definitely, yeah. No, obviously it's already it's a great platform to have, to be able to, it gives us a way that fans overseas can watch us on that platform. It doesn't necessarily have to be streamed in their country. They can get the iFollow pass through our platform. Also kind of looking at it the other way, it's a real shame that we'd love to obviously be building this with a view to getting fans to come over and welcoming them and sort of giving them a really cool experience. Hopefully that's not in the too distant future, but for now, you're right, the iFollow pass is a great way to sort of stay in touch and watch our games.
And there's something really nice about knowing that you're, if you like, expanding the community of different fans in different countries wearing the Wycombe shirt, or perhaps even the Mardi Gras away goalkeeper shirt.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, you've always seen through the Mardi Gras kit, that's kind of our tribute to Louisiana and the colours of Mardi Gras through our ownership of the Q Leagues. It's definitely going to be a way to bring people together, and hopefully we'll watch some of these fan groups and pages that we're starting to get set up expand and grow in numbers, and then maybe further down the line when we're allowed to sort of have more larger scale gatherings, it'd be great to see some sort of, almost like fan parks that you see at World Cups of people in various countries supporting Wycombe Wanderers. So something like that would be really cool. I think it'll be something that's quite unique to our club, and hopefully that'll be something that we can work towards in the future.
Fantastic. I like the idea of lots of fans from around the world coming to Adams Park. That would be quite cool to sit next to somebody, say from Brazil, Argentina, somewhere like that, who follows us from afar.
It'll be amazing. Yeah, I mean, already last year we had a couple of guys from from Mexico come over. Their link with the club was that they love playing with Akinfenwa on FIFA. They came over here. We were aware of their plans and sort of gave them a really good experience, looked after them. They got to meet the manager, the players, pictures with Akinfenwa. And, even now you can look on social media, they're still just absolutely in love with Wycombe. So, that's just like one story. Hopefully now that we're actually kind of trying to make a conscious effort to engage more with fans overseas, we would like to have more overseas fans coming and visiting us in the future and sort of spreading the word that they had a great time here and feel invested and cared about by the club. And hopefully this is something, the example of those guys coming over from Mexico is just one of many stories that will emerge over the coming years.
And our proximity to London must be a real benefit as well, because obviously people coming from other countries landing at the airport and perhaps not wanting deliberately to follow one of the bigger clubs and to go and find out more about someone who's a little smaller just out of town.
Exactly, yeah. No, we're not too far from London at all. Got good links to get into London, and like you say, obviously, yes, you could go to perhaps one of the bigger clubs of Premier League football, but, it can be expensive, ticketing difficulties and things like that. If you come to Adams Park, beautiful backdrop to the surrounding stadium, lovely town, lovely surroundings, and obviously, you get to see some rock and roll football as well, hopefully. So
maybe a partridge on the pitch as well.
Maybe, who knows?
Harry, tell us a little bit about your background in football as well. Were you originally a Wycombe Wanderers fan? And it's okay to say no, by the way.
I was going to say, maybe this isn't the best place to share that information with, but no. So I'm actually a Liverpool fan, but no. So my background is I was at Newcastle University. I did Spanish and business, so that was kind of where I had the opportunity to go and live in Chile as part of the course, and really sort of like build on Spanish there. And obviously, amazing experience to live in South America. Coming away from sort of like that degree, like I knew that I always wanted to work in the sports industry, particularly in football, like on the sort of commercial and marketing side of things. So I ended up studying for a master's at UCFB. It's like a university dedicated to football business. We've got another couple of people that are working at the club that have a similar background of coming from there. And I was really obviously with COVID and stuff, I thought kind of working in the sports industry was going to be quite tough to get into after everything that happened over the summer. But came in for an interview for an internship, and after sort of sharing some ideas with Pete, kind of like talking about skills and experience and his plans for this sort of implementing the worldwide phenomenon, it kind of transpired that could be suitable for a role there. So really lucky with the timings and everything. But I think like you said, it's a hugely exciting opportunity, and one that I can't wait to get more involved with.
Well, when you were out in Chile, are the South Americans as football mad and obsessed as we assume that they're going to be?
They are pretty football crazy, yeah. No, you'll have. I remember watching games with the national team, and you'll have families where sort of quite a quiet family, by day, and then as soon as the football kicks off, it's just absolute carnage, screaming, and a lot of shouting. And they do really love their football. I think it's much more of a kind of it's a really big social occasion when the national team are playing. I think it's much more important to them perhaps than it is over here. It's sort of like an occasion for everyone to come together, like win or lose, and share a good time with the rest of your family and friends and stuff. So they are football crazy. I was lucky enough to go and watch a few games. Different experience, but really, really exciting.
You must get the sense as well, this is such an exciting time to be involved with the club and spreading, if it doesn't sound too corny, spreading the word of the Wycombe Wanderers way worldwide.
100%. Yeah, it's a really, really exciting time. Obviously, to be playing in the Championship, first time in their history. It's obviously an unbelievable opportunity to get involved, and such an exciting time, sort of still seeing sort of the benefits from new ownership. And I think it's such a really special club, obviously really well connected and embedded in the community. But also with that great balance of sort of drive and ambition to take things further than the sort of surrounding area of High Wycombe. So really, really exciting time to be involved in the club, and I think it's going to be a really exciting season.
Perhaps you can bring some sort of South American flavours to the menu as well at Adams Park.
Could do, get some empanadas and some nice food like that. Spice things up a bit. Could be nice.
Well, obviously, wish you all the best with the role, and look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thank you very much. Great to chat. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Harry. Many thanks to Harry Gadd for speaking to us on the Wycombe Wanderers Show. We wish him all the very best in his quest to turn as many people in the world into Wycombe Wanderers fans, very much like your quote about Dad's Army. And you can sort of see the risk board as well, can't you, as they try and turn it into like light and dark blue quarters.
No, definitely. You can imagine Eskimos in the even wearing the...
Not sure you're allowed to say that anymore, are you?
Aren't you?
The Inuit people.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I think.
Oh,
I'm
right.
not sure, I might be wrong.
Oh, there's another new feature for the show in upcoming weeks. Oh, I didn't realise Eskimos was
Things you're not meant to say anymore on the Wycombe Wanderers Show. No, I don't think that feature's got legs, as it were.
Oh, okay.
Coming up, we will be speaking...
They can't all be brilliant, can they?
No, they can't, absolutely. We will be speaking to Phil Catchpole, who is catching up with Wycombe fan Mark Evans, who formerly worked on the FIFA games, and who has also had an interesting encounter with Lionel Messi.
And we'll be previewing the Wycombe Wanderers' first away game in the Championship, away to Blackburn, manager Gareth Ainsworth's hometown club.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome back to the final third, or third half, as we called it last week. I think we should stick to the third half.
I think yes, third half.
Of the Wycombe Wanderers
Otherwise
Show.
It becomes a bit like ice hockey and you start talking about periods, and that just sounds a bit strange.
Yes.
It's the third period. No, let's go for the third half. Or extra time. That works as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That works. That does work well. Already had some fantastic guests on. If you've missed any of it, well, if you've missed any of it, you're not listening to this bit, are you? Either. But we are available on a podcast.
You may have just switched on.
If you've missed the last bit, you can catch all of it again on your usual podcast suppliers. It will be available in the coming week as well, so make sure you don't miss that. Still to come on the final part of the show, as I say, looking forward to Wycombe Wanderers away to Blackburn Rovers in the Championship this weekend.
But we are now going to hear from a voice of Wycombe Wanderers, Mr. Phil Catchpole, who has been catching up with Wycombe fan Mark Evans.
On the line now from Switzerland, Zurich to be precise, is Wycombe fan Mark Evans. Now, Mark, I contacted you because you put up a picture on the the Wycombe Wanderers Facebook page of you and Lionel Messi, and obviously lots of clubs and special club official accounts of saying, come on Lionel, come and sign for Forest Green Rovers or whoever. But you've met the guy himself, so technically you're a lot closer to most of these other people. Is Messi going to come to Wycombe?
Well, I hope so, Phil. I used to work for EA Sports, and we used to use Messi in our advertising a lot. And my role was kind of based on the advertising side. So we used to work with him every year for kind of 5 or 6 years. And every time I met him, I tried to drop in the appeals of Wycombe. At that time, he was kind of at his peak, so I wasn't really looking for a move. I was pretty happy at Barcelona. But I used to sort of talk to him about, end of his career, might be looking to wind down, more serene surroundings. So I used to drop in Wycombe a bit. His English isn't great, so I honestly don't know how much of that he ever understood. But I tried my best, and I'm just hoping that some of it might have stuck.
Now, what's he like? Because obviously to play for Wycombe, it helps if you're good at football, but, Dobbo and Gaz always go on about, you've got to be a great character. You've got to fit into the dressing room. Would Lionel fit into the Wycombe way?
I have to say, I don't know if he's got the character that would be a great fit with our dressing room. He's very quiet, doesn't say a lot, so he might find some of the characters there a little bit overwhelming. That said, I imagine his talent might get him through that. So you never know, and I suspect that Dobbo and Gareth might turn a blind eye to character in this case.
I'm not so sure. I think maybe we could Championship Wycombe turn down Messi. I can see the headlines now. Let's talk a bit more about EA Sports, because Wycombe have signed Uche Ikpeazu, who's the 5th strongest player in the game. We already own the strongest player in the game, of course, in Adebayo Akinfenwa. So I'm quite excited about the strongest front line partnership sort of bulldozing their way through Championship defences. These scores, strength, skill, whatever they all broken down as, we can see that Bayo's really strong. We can see that Ikpeazu's really strong. How much research goes into these figures?
A lot. Yeah, I mean, it's not a case of those figures just being plucked out of thin air. There's a lot of research that goes into those player scores, and actually not just for the top level players either. All through the leagues, there's teams of people who collect that data and then assemble it and give scores to players, kind of strength, speed, shooting, defending. And those scores are actually used not just by kind of FIFA players, but actually professional clubs use them as well as part of their scouting these days. So they were kind of recognised as something that is actually really accurate and is used for player recruitment. Really interesting. And as you said, now I've got 2 of the strongest players in the game, which is pretty formidable actually. And I suspect no team has had 2 players like that before. So it'll be certainly an interesting pairing in the Championship this season.
Sadly, Mark, you no longer work at EA Sports, because I think every football fan, even the floating fans out there, would agree with me that Joe Jacobson should be on the cover of this season's game at the very, very least. You can't make that happen, unfortunately.
I can't, but I still know a few people there, so I can have a word, but I suspect that might be a stretch, unfortunately. But I agree with you. He absolutely should be on there.
Indeed. And while we got you on the line, I mean, you live in Switzerland now, but you clearly have an English accent. So what's the story with you and Wycombe Wanderers?
So I grew up in Bucks. I grew up in Prestwood, which about 10 minutes away from Wycombe. So I've been a fan for a long time now. Started to watch Wycombe in the early 90s, which was kind of a great time, really, to start getting into watching us. Very fond memories of watching us at Wembley back then in the playoff final. And even before that. So that's my history with Wycombe. Sadly moved away from the UK about 9 years ago now. So haven't been able to get to Adams Park as much as I'd have liked over the last few years. And obviously devastated to be missing our first season in the Championship. Although, with crowds not being allowed in, slight silver lining for me is that even if I was back, I might not be able to watch us anyway. It's really nice watching us climb the leagues at the moment, even from a bit of a distance.
Yeah, so you're one of these worldwide Wycombe phenomenons, as Rob Couhig calls it, and you're putting the Wycombe flag on the map in Switzerland. So what's it like watching online, and following from online? Is there that sense of detachment? Because this is the reality now for at least the first month of the season for all Wycombe fans. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, iFollow has been an absolute game changer for people like me. When I first moved here, the only time I'd ever get to watch us live would be through the occasional appearance on Sky Sports. And I remember actually, I think the day I moved over to Switzerland, the next day we were playing Huddersfield live on Sky, and I think we lost 6-0. Which is absolutely horrible. But over the last year or two, with iFollow coming in, it's made it so much easier. So it now means that I can watch every game in the league. I think it's even cheaper for expats like me than it is for people living in the UK, which seems a bit unfair. But yeah, so that now I feel much more connected and able to watch the games. And hopefully that will continue this season. So yeah, I think iFollow has been an awesome introduction, especially for people like me who live a little bit away from the ground now.
Really good to hear from Phil Catchpole chatting to Wycombe Wanderers fan Mark Evans. Don't forget you can catch up with Phil's podcast, brand new and available now on all your good podcast outlets. It's called Ringing the Blues, and a brilliant listen, and you can catch up on past episodes as well, which is also a very good listen.
It is. It's fantastic, and many thanks to Phil for allowing us to play out his interviews.
Ideal for long away journeys.
It is, yes, indeed. If you haven't got Neil Harman's book on audiobook, Neil, if you want to come in and record it, then definitely I will arrange that for you. Then Phil Catchpole is a fantastic alternative on his Ringing the Blues podcast.
Very exciting on the latest edition of our show to be building up to Wycombe Wanderers' first away game of the season as well, against Blackburn Rovers.
Yes, so I went up to the Wycombe Wanderers training ground this morning and spoke to Gareth Ainsworth about just what Blackburn meant to him.
Yeah, obviously it means everything. It's my hometown, it's where I grew up. It's shaped me as a person, very early days, learning a lot of resilience, but probably didn't realise it at the time. I've gone back recently, and it's a tough place to be. There's not a lot going on there. There's not a lot of money and finances, but what there is great people, and I'm really looking forward to going back. I wish those great people were coming in the stadium, because last time I went, I got a lovely round of applause at the end of the game, and the song what they sing about he's one of your own. That's true for this club for me. Blackburn fan through and through, and won't be sat here probably if it weren't for Blackburn Rovers. So yeah, it means a lot to me, and going back to Ewood Park will be a really special moment for me. Never done it as a manager, done it as a player a couple of times, but yeah, this will be special, and like I said, just wish people were there, but we'll see what we can do. I'm for once looking that Rovers get beat. That's what I'm hoping, and it does seem weird to be saying that, but really and truly, Wycombe has been so good to me. I feel like I'm part of Wycombe, and that'll be important for us on Saturday to play what is a real big championship game. Premier League champions. I've got to slip that in 94-95, and a nice moment for us. So to have this game against this club is what we got to the championship for, and a real special moment. Looking forward to it. Travelling up tomorrow, ready to go.
Are you doing anything special tomorrow evening? Are you staying up there, seeing any family, anything like that, or going out to any local haunts?
Do you know what? Fortunately, most of Blackburn's in like a local lockdown, so there's not much we can do. It's one of the hot spots with the COVID, and Mum and Dad have been housed up for 6 months or more. So I saw them at the Fleetwood game briefly from a distance, but since about February, it's been slim pickings with the parents. So. They'll be at the game, which is great. The club have allowed my parents to come to the game, which is brilliant, because I know it'd be a big special moment for my dad, who took me as a 6-year-old, and that's where I got hooked on football. But yeah, we're just going up as normal, preparing as normal. I don't want it to be anything special, but if the limelight comes onto me because I'm from Blackburn and takes all the pressure off the players, then that helps, I'm sure. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this squad can go and do against what I think is one of the best clubs in the country, if not the best club. So we'll see what we can do.
If you pick him tomorrow, it'll be Ryan Alsop's 100th appearance for the club. Is he one of your better signings?
Do you know, he's right up there with everyone. Honestly, we don't make many mistakes. I'm really proud of that. There's been one or two, and mistakes too big a word. Some just haven't worked out for one reason or another. Never made a mistake, I don't think, but there's obviously one or two I haven't worked out. Ryan definitely has worked out. I think he's improved no end. He's a great lad, he's really opened up lately to allow us to get inside his head and him as a person, to allow us to bring his game on. He's a cracking keeper anyway. Had all the right tools at the start. I think just a bit of belief in Ryan has been important, and we wouldn't be in the Championship if it wasn't for Ryan Alsop, you know. So it's plain and simple, you know. There's some big players who've contributed some big things to this club, and I'm glad Ryan's found a home. And like I say, I've had 1 or 2 moments, you know. I've left him out a couple of times for other people, and sometimes it was for real reasons, sometimes to give him a little bit of a kick up the backside, and each time he's come back in and proved himself, and I wouldn't have him any other way. He's a fantastic guy, and looking forward to seeing if he can keep a clean sheet up there.
Are there any injury updates? We've seen a lot of Bayo Akinfenwa this season, but mainly on the screen rather than on the pitch. How close is he to coming back?
Yeah, very close. He's outside now, which is great, you know. So we get him in the squad as soon as possible, you know. Other than him, I think we've got a fully fit squad, which is brilliant. So I'm taking everyone up there, which is great. Gives me a couple of headaches. Trying to get a couple more players in before the end of the window. No names to disclose, or no hints on what positions that might be, but we're just probably 1 or 2 short of the full squad that will get us through to January. Rob Couig and Pete Couig have been fantastic backing me. Andrew Howard with his work behind the scenes, and I think we're in good shape. Spoke to a few people lately, and they're all saying, look, whatever happens, this is a fantastic journey, a fantastic year for the club. I want to make it another fairy tale. I want to make it another season where people say, how the hell are Wycombe Wanderers doing what they're doing? And I've got a bunch of boys I think can achieve that.
Talking of that, yesterday a sad day for football as Macclesfield Town went out of existence. Really, that's one of those things that as a small club you look at and you think, well, goodness me, you know, there were a few times, particularly in your managerial reign, where that could have been Wycombe Wanderers.
Yeah, definitely one, especially, you know, the way game at Torquay. That touches me quite close to the heartstrings, that story, because we could have been that club. We honestly could have. You know, what is it? 2 months after they've been relegated, they now fold up and they've gone. That could have been this club, you know. And this club's so much bigger than Macclesfield, you know. Not in a derogatory way to Macclesfield, but we've had a good 25 years in the league, and it's a sad state of affairs, you know, where football has allowed that to happen. I know the COVID stuff, and I know the fans not being allowed in has played big parts in clubs' finances, and I just hope they can come back soon, because football is definitely not the same without the fans, and we are so fortunate to have been promoted. We worked damn hard for it, but we're fortunate to be in a position where we are probably one of the luckier ones without fans at the moment. You know, the payments in the Championship and the Premiership get you by. Leagues 1 and Leagues 2, wow, it's really tough, and I really empathise with those people, and I for one am an advocate of trying to filter some money down. Even though we're in this Championship, I'd love to be able to filter some money down to some clubs who need it. I think it's really important, and let's hope that the powers that be can really, you know, find some solutions that stop this type of thing happening. That's Bury and Macclesfield now in successive years, and really it's sad, because they're 2 clubs I've both played at, played some big history, a big part of my history, and I think I've scored at both grounds. That's a sad day, but hopefully we can turn this around and start getting football healthy again.
And ahead of what will hopefully be his 100th game for Wycombe Wanderers, that is if Gareth Ainsworth selects him, I also spoke to Ryan Alsop and asked him about his memories of that fantastic night 2 months ago at Wembley.
Yeah, it's all a bit surreal, really, when we look back at it. Obviously, seen it back a couple of times now. Obviously, the boys been fantastic all season. I feel like winning at Wembley just topped it off. Obviously, it would have been nice to have all the fans there, but nonetheless, we got the job done and achieved what we wanted to achieve. And obviously, it's a brilliant thing to look back on, but we're focused on looking forward now and doing our utmost to be where we want to be at this season.
Must have been strange playing there as well, considering that you won there with Lincoln back in 2018, when obviously the place was full, and this time it was empty.
Yeah, it was obviously very different. Both obviously very big moments for me in my career. Obviously things to look back on, things to show the grandkids, but it was very different atmosphere-wise. But as I said, it would have been brilliant to have the fans there. Obviously we wanted to share that moment with them, and obviously they would have loved to have been there. Obviously circumstances didn't allow that, but as I said, the most important thing was for us to get that job done, and hopefully we can have them back in the stadium soon, so we can hopefully make more memories together.
You're one of a number of players who come in on loan and then eventually actually come back permanently. What is it about this club that actually brings players back, that they really want to come back here?
It's just everything about it: the dressing room, the staff, the management. There's the fans. There's a real family feel about the whole club, and I think that's what's brought us so much success. And hopefully it can continue to do that. I think everyone can see the team spirit. I think so many people have mentioned to me about the playoff final and how together we were and how much we ran for each other and worked hard for each other. And I think as long as we carry on doing that, who knows what can happen in the future.
If you're selected on Saturday, you'll be making your 100th appearance for Wycombe. You're a player who's moved around a lot in your career. Is it nice to actually be settled somewhere now?
Of course it is, yeah. I've had many different experiences in my career. It's lovely to have a place to call home and have a dressing room that I have stability. My family has stability. I know where I've been. Obviously, this is my 3rd season now. So it's nice to have that home to feel settled and feel relaxed. And obviously, we've achieved a lot, and we want to achieve more. So it's brilliant to be settled, as I say, and I couldn't have a better group of staff or group of lads to be at with. So now, obviously delighted, and hopefully look forward to making my 100th appearance on Saturday.
During those 100 games, you've worn some fairly interesting kits, shall we say. Are you going to be wearing the Mardi Gras kit on Saturday in celebration?
I'll leave that up to the staff. To be fair, it's grew on me, the Mardi Gras kit. I do like the traditional black one though. But either way, whatever kit I wear, hopefully we can go and get the 3 points and hopefully a clean sheet too, if selected.
And Blackburn Rovers, that's one of those games that actually, when the Championship fixtures came out, people were looking for. Clearly, they're former Premier League champions, so it's going to be a tough game, but it's an exciting one for Wycombe.
Of course, yeah. I think you look at the fixtures and they're all tough games. We know the challenges that we've got ahead of us. There's a lot of massive teams in this league, and it's brilliant that we get to brush shoulders with these teams. We get to go and test ourselves against former Premier League players, so it's a great test for us. Blackburn are a massive club, just like many others in this league, but we'll obviously work on the training pitch today and tomorrow, and hopefully set out a plan that will hopefully go and get us the 3 points.
Second episode of the Wycombe Wanderers Show virtually done.
The difficult second album, I think we did okay.
I'm looking forward to the limited edition what do they call it? Reissue. The reissue.
In 20 years, yes, when they interview us again and all of the bits that didn't actually make the cut I've put back in.
It's been a good show, I think.
I think it's been fantastic.
We've had some very interesting people, not to mention ourselves. We're very interesting as well, of course.
Yes, well, I hope so. I hope you have enjoyed it,
so,
wherever you happen to be listening.
We hope you enjoy your trip to Blackburn.
Yes, thank you very much. I will try and go to Blackburn and not Blackpool. Do you want me to do another Bob's Eye view as I'm going along?
Absolutely, yes. See you next time in Warwick Services.
Okay, yes, I will do that. You can find out how easy it is to get into Ewood Park, or how difficult it is with regards to the COVID restrictions.
Because you'll have the first to compare with as well.
I will.